If Tennessee plays like it did last night, how far will they go in the NCAA tournament? How do you want to phrase it? What are our choices?
They're up, guys. They will either make the Elite Eight, the Final Four, the national title game, or they'll win the national championship. Because quite honestly, nobody who is not serious thinks they wouldn't at least make the Elite Eight if they played like they did last night.
Yep. And we're taking Sweet 16 out of it because this team should be beyond a Sweet 16 team. There's no question in my mind. That was an incredibly impressive victory. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't done that yet, because we're going to have complete basketball coverage as Tennessee, I think, makes a deep, serious run in the NCAA tournament, which will be very exciting. And I look at last night and the way Tennessee played, and with their poise, there was definitely a feeling. Was it BVS, battered ball syndrome, that kind of hit the arena last night when Auburn climbed back to take the lead and Tennessee had been in control? This was before Connect took over in the second half. But there was that feeling that Auburn may come back and win this game. And what did Tennessee do? They were able to respond with a guy named Dalton Connect. You ask me, is it the loudest that it's ever been in Thompson Bowling Arena? It ranks right up there. It's funny to me, Caleb, I have seen some Kentucky games on a Sunday that it's almost like the opposite of football. You get tanked up before you go to a football game at night, but a day game on a Sunday, you're not tired from the day, work day midweek. So I think maybe some Kentucky games have been a little bit louder, but boy, that was right up there. It's splitting hairs at that point.
Yeah, I could sense the vibe and the energy just from watching the game that it was up there. It was pretty high because, again, I've been to some Electric Thompson Bowling events. This one was rare. You could sense it actually from watching the game inside the television studio. The only thing that I got even close was the 06 upset of Florida when Bruce Pearl upset Billy Donovan and the fans stormed the court. Do you remember that one, Dave?
I do.
There was that one in terms of electricity in Knoxville. That might be it.
Yeah.
That might be the only one. I mean, it was that level. And it's funny because there were so many Tennessee fans that, quite honestly, I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but like had definitely wanted to cut ties with the program after the Auburn, after many felt loyal to Auburn, quite honestly, after the Bruce Pearl situation happened years ago when he got hired. But that didn't show yesterday. They were rooting like heck for Tennessee, which was pretty impressive.
Well, let's go ahead and answer the question for ourselves. And we want it on the message board now. I'm going to go with Final Four. I think that this is one of the best four teams in the nation. I know that doesn't always prove out to be that case in the tournament. As a matter of fact, it never does. I think all one seeds have only made it one time. But I believe that this is one of the top four teams in the country, especially after last night seeing Dalton Connect take over. So I'm going to go with number one. What do you say on the message board? Caleb, what do you say? Brought to you by Boundless Moving. I've tried other moving companies. I went with Boundless Moving. Couldn't have been happier. From a 2-hour minimum to turnkey operations, they've got you covered. Boundless Moving, their motto, personal service without limits. That's not just their tagline. It's part of who they are. It's their DNA. That's Boundless Moving. Where do you have Tennessee if they play like they played last night in the NCAA tournament?
Oh, they're winning the national title. They're winning the national title. The only drawback was Zakai Ziegler having to deal with some of that tempo that Auburn ran early, and that calls for turnovers, and he was not efficient shooting the ball. But I've said from the start, Tennessee has a formula for success that they'll win every game if they do this. Jonas Adu has to be a force inside. He was a force inside, wasn't he? 14 points. That's exactly the type of effect you need him to do. Zakai Ziegler has to be Zakai Ziegler, which is, managing the offense and being that feisty player on defense. Wasn't he that yesterday?
Yes.
Josiah-Jordan James has to dominate defensively. It happened yesterday.
Yes.
Dalton Connect has to be able to just take over when they need him to take over.
If they need him to take over, there are going to be some games like the opening round game. They're not going to need him to take over, right?
Right, exactly. That happened last night, though. They needed him to take over, and he did. And then they need to find the hot hand from three. Last night, it just happened to be Dalton Connect was also the hot hand from three, and he took over. So it was kind of a twofold, which is why he played so well, went 5 of 8 from three, but also Zakai had the hot hand from three. He was 3 of 3 from three. So Tennessee shot 9 of 17 from three. They were 27 to 35 on free throws. They had their inside game. It was everything you needed, to the point where it didn't matter that Santi didn't play well because he was in foul trouble. It was, I mean, there's no weakness when they play like this. Tennessee's gotten bounced out in the past the way a typical defensive-minded team gets bounced out in the NCAA tournament, which is they have an ice-cold shooting game, and the other team got hot shooting the ball, and there's nothing they can do. Tennessee, if they play like this, doesn't matter if the other team's red hot shooting the ball. They'll hang with them. They'll be able to shoot and score with them. It wasn't like Auburn was shooting poorly last night.
No, I mean, Auburn did not play a bad game. Auburn did not show up and lay an egg. As a matter of fact, to fall behind early and then be able to come back, I thought Auburn played pretty well. I would say Auburn played an A- game. I can't give them an A because they didn't win, but they played really well. Now let's do this for a second, because after a great victory, we can have recency bias, right, Caleb? We can say, "Oh,
I never have that."
Yeah, yes, you do. Okay, we all do. But in this particular case, how does Tennessee get better? What did you see last night that you think would push Tennessee even to a higher level? And I'll answer it with one word, and I'll ask the message board the same thing. If you agree, I think it's Vescovi. I don't know why exactly he doesn't feel comfortable, but you could feel it, especially in person last night, Caleb. I think there have been times where he's pulled the string on his shot. I don't think he's as confident as he was. I don't know if it's because of personal issues with his grandmother, God rest her soul, passing away. And certainly he's in our thoughts and prayers at Off the Hook Sports. I know that was a loss. Or if maybe he thinks the NBA is not his game and he's going to end up back in Europe, or whatever the case may be. It just seems like he's lost his confidence a little bit. I think he only took 2 shots last night. He needs to take, about 8 shots or so. And I think it changes Tennessee. If they can get that from Vescovi, and they don't have a lot of time, we're just talking about a week and a half till tournament time, then they hit another level. And I think that's doable. Any other comments as far as criticisms for Tennessee? If you can possibly find one, I'd love to read it on the message board, because that was about as perfect of a showing as you could possibly have. And we're going to get to connect a lot more. But if you had a nitpick any issue, what do you think it might be? Now, the Lewis family says that game was closer than it looked. I will agree with you there. Tennessee, I don't base it off the final score, but I thought it was a convincing win at the end. I don't think there was any question that Tennessee was the better basketball team on that night.
Yes, though they absolutely were. Vescovi, I give a break to because he got in foul trouble early. That was horrendous officiating. He got called for a horrible foul early in the first, early at one point, and I will reserve judgment on talking about that because I feel like we talk about college basketball refs all the time on this show. So that was probably that I give him a break. I still go Ziegler because look, Ziegler Ziegler is tired, guys. He's played too much. He played 38 minutes again last night. He's tired. Now, he's got like that dog in him. So even when he's tired, when you're gassed and he'll turn on that level when he needs to, he'll find that next level that you don't think you have, but you have, and he'll do that. But the human body, eventually the human body just can't reach that level, right? And that's going to be a moment. You saw it last night. He had 4 turnovers early. He missed every shot that was not a 3-pointer that he took. And he was at 1.4 of 8 from the free throw line. Now he closed with his final 4 free throws. But, guys, he is tired. And there's not a guy to back him up. So that's the other issue right now with Ziegler.
I completely agree with that. Hit like and subscribe. Now, I want to tell you what somebody close to the program told me that's been to practice early in the season and late in the season. He said that it's not necessarily what you said, Caleb, that they're playing guys too many minutes during games. He said it's that the practices never lighten up as the season goes on, that the practices, and Rick Barnes doesn't curse, but he runs tough practices, summit-like practices. They would have gotten along very, very well. And
oh, they did get along. They used to go on Converse trips.
Yeah, they did, but they would have continued to, I mean, they were, cut from the same cloth in a lot of ways. That this person with insight into the program said that's where you need to back off a little bit. You need to back off a little bit in practice more so than the minutes. Probably a combination of both, like you said. But hit the like and subscribe button right now. We greatly appreciate that. Want to bring more people in. But your thoughts on maybe backing it off in practice to help Josiah Ziegler?
That would help a lot. He absolutely needs to back it off in practice. I think
I
Zakai.
feel like I just asked the most obvious question ever.
I think Zakai is like we've all seen Rudy, right? Zakai is like Rudy. He like doesn't take a play off, whether it's practice or the game. I feel like Zakai is that type of guy, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like a random practice drill, and he's probably going at 100 miles an hour. And remember that moment in Rudy where like he like Vince Vaughn, by the way, is the guy. He tackles Vince Vaughn's character, and Vince Vaughn like cusses him out, and he's like, "It's the last practice of the year, and this guy's pretending like it's the Super Bowl." And I'm like, that's probably Josiah Ziegler. He's probably taking every play like it's the Super Bowl.
You probably just have to honestly sit him down during practice.